In the last couple of years, Los Angeles has been hit with some tremendous emotional and economic disasters. It was February of 1992. We went through the ravaging floods together. Then in April of that same year, the riots tore this community apart. We are all still trying to heal from that, even now. Then in October of 1993, the Santa Ana winds swept catastrophic fires through our canyons and homes, leaving behind them death and destruction of tremendous proportions. Then, just when we thought we couldn't face anything else, on January 17th of 1994 at precisely 4:31 a.m., the most devastating natural disaster in the history of this country violently shook us from our sleep. The quake of '94, we call it, and it became then our greatest challenge. In the next few days, the people of this great city came together as we never have before. We endured thousands of aftershocks. We learned what it means to be a real community. What we're about to show you is those first few minutes and hours after the quake and what happened in the days that followed that. You'll see how the people of this city took care of themselves and took care of each other. But prepare yourself. What you'll see is dramatic. It's emotionally, and sometimes it will break your heart.
Give me a pen.
You tell we got monitors knocked off right here in the newsroom.
4:30. That camera does not move, does it? I can't tell if we're on the air or not. Okay, we've got another aftershock coming. Ready to go. I don't hear any audio. I don't hear any audio. Okay. Okay. We're here in the Channel 4 newsroom, as you folks. There's no surprise. For any folks this morning, we've been hit with a major earthquake. Right now, we're trying to basically gather some more information, trying to figure out where this has been centered. I'm not sure if we can take a look around right now, but half the newsroom behind me has been disheveled. A lot of television monitors knocked off the shelves. Basically, a lot of dust kicking around here. We're trying to figure out, again, where this earthquake has been centered. It hit at about 4:34 this morning. A very sharp jolt, a very long, a very rolling type of motion right now. Again, I'm not sure if we have any more information coming in right now. Right now, everybody seems to be scrambling. We're trying to figure out, again, where this was centered. I personally have a lot of concerns for my family. Hopefully, I don't know, Michelle, if you can hear this, I hope you're okay. Here comes another aftershock. Okay, third aftershock. This is a long one. Okay, this is still staying with us here. We're rolling back and forth, left to right here. Okay, Ken Shocknick is joining us right now. Ken, how you doing? You holding in there, my friend?
Good morning, Joe. I'm going to sit down with you in 1 second if they can hear me on your microphone. Here's what I have seen on the drive-in. What you have probably been talking to viewers about.
On the drive-in, I wonder what that drive-in was like.
It's very dark out there because a lot of electricity has been lost around Southern California. Good morning to you. We've had another one of those earthquakes. Joe's been telling you about it. Coming in about 4:31, 4:32 this morning.
How's your adrenaline level?
The adrenaline level, as always in Southern California, times like this, probably just about the same as your own.
Yeah.
But there have been big, widespread areas without electricity in Southern California. Coming through the San Gabriel Valley, I get a chance to look down during part of the drive and see part of the LA Basin. The portion of the LA Basin that I saw did have most electricity. However, in the San Gabriel Valley and in parts of the San Fernando Valley, there have been areas knocked out of electricity. So that's one of the concerns this morning. And you no doubt have been talking about the damage here in our own Channel 4 newsroom. It's incredible. This probably the sharpest shock we have felt
no doubt about it.
In Southern California since 1971 and Sylmar. This a live picture from our Channel 4 News seismocam showing an aftershock apparently to this morning's 4:30 earthquake. Again, we don't know the size of the original earthquake. We don't know the epicenter, but we are assuming at this point that what you're looking at right now is one of the aftershocks from the earthquake. And there will be several, Joe, that we're going to feel just perhaps in the next few minutes or so.
I can't recall when the last quake we had, but I've often thought, when the next one's going to hit. We've been very lucky. We have not been hit by quakes. I'm not sure if this is a matter of superstition or just wondering when's our luck going to run out, but this is Southern California, and this is the Ring of Fire, if you will, and it's something that people say, oh, you should get used to, but you don't, and you take it so personally because this thing hit. There was nowhere to run. There's no place to hide. You see things falling off, and for the first time, as I was running through the hallways from the editing base out here into the newsroom, there was actual dust coming down from the ceiling.
From the plaster.
And the first thing I'm thinking is the 4 floors above me. I said, Lord mercy, hang in there, don't come down on me now. And basically, one of the words of advice that I think we're always using is staying underneath the door jams, and hopefully that people are doing that this morning.
We have all made it through, as far as we can tell so far. That is good news. You're there. We're here. We will try to keep you up to date with continuing live coverage of exactly what's going on.
I do not have to tell those of you who went through that earthquake that those first few minutes were really, really something. And as often happens with a reporter, when you get a story like this, the adrenaline level just goes full tilt. Joe Rico was here to talk about that. Yours had to be 110%.
Absolutely, sky high. It was just nonstop. It's like you get that feeling, your ears are ringing. This is real, folks.
What about the people that were here with you at 4:30 in the morning? What was their reaction? What were they doing when this thing hit?
I hope they were running for cover, for one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, because when that thing hit, everybody seemed to go for their own doorway. And you're looking down, and we were assuming everybody had their position. We all rode that thing out. And I think once the shaking stopped, once the generator lights kicked on, everyone looks out, say, are you okay? Yes. And the word just kind of went down the hallway. Are you okay? Yeah. Are you okay? You're right. Yeah. Suddenly, people are yelling, let's go. Let's get it on the air. We got to go. And people are scrambling left and right, going to their edit bays, going to playback machines, getting us on the air, and sprinting through. And it was madness, but it was organized.
You mentioned your family.
Right.
You mentioned your family on the air, that how concerned you were for their safety, and well, you should have been.
Yeah.
How long was it before you had contact with your family to know that they were okay?
I'm going to think about 6 hours. It wasn't until about 2 in the afternoon.
That long?
That long, right. It's like, I think one of the things they always say is call a relative out of state, just in case they can't get through to you, and they'll relay the call back home, and just in case the lines are down locally. I tried doing that. I couldn't reach anyone, but I recall the first thing, as we're getting reports in and we're trying to update things, what's going on, and all the while I'm just kind of dying inside wondering, I hope they're okay, because I had no idea where the epicenter was, whether it was where I live, in the South Pasadena area, or whether it was San Fernando Valley. We had no idea. Right. And you assume the worst. You can't help but assume the worst. And and there's 3 little ones, ages 10, 6, and 3.
How did you finally find out about your family? Was it a phone call that you managed to make, or they made to you, or how?
I was in the field in front of the Northridge Meadows apartments where it collapsed. All those people died. And I saw a woman with her child, and I thought, snap. I imagine I spoke with everybody at home, and the reality was I didn't. It was like my imagination carried over, and I thought, yeah, I made the phone call. Then I had to have a reality check. Wait a minute, I never did get through. And suddenly I got on the cell phone and started dialing, and I still couldn't get through, and I just, one more time, and boom, I got through, and it was my little boy answered, and I thought, whew.
Oh,
and
thank God.
It was something else. It was emotional too. I mean, I hate even thinking about talking about it right now. It was really scary, real scary.
When a reporter's trying to do a job like you were, you're trying to do a job, you're trying to stay calm and objective, and yet there's so much emotion about this story. Mm-hmm. Did it ever really get to you emotionally? Was there a point where it really got to you?
Probably at the end of the day. I think I had been up 24 hours prior to the quake hitting on a hostage situation.
Right.
And I hadn't gone to bed because I was in the newsroom rewriting it when the quake hit. And it was suddenly you're on an adrenaline rush. You're rushing everywhere. There's no time to reflect on what you have done. It wasn't until about maybe 3 in the afternoon when I was in front of the Northridge Meadows apartments when a camera crew from another program was tailing me. And I asked, what are you doing? He says, we're following you. And I thought, oh. And the guy was rolling, and the producer asked me, he says, well, did it ever get you emotionally? Is there anything that hit you? And I thought of the image that one of our cameramen said he saw, and that was of a woman crying because her young son was killed. And immediately I thought of my little 10-year-old boy, and I lost it. I heard a little one.
Just watching them.
Died. In there. It's scary. I feel bad. So. luckily the cameraman was a friend of mine, so it made it a lot easier. And I think once he finished rolling, he just gave me a nice big bear hug, saying it's going to be okay. So that was rough.
Is that the image that's going to stay with you for a long time?
The image I'm going to think of is Balboa and Rinaldi, because that's where you have the water main blew and the gas main, and you have a combination of fire and water, buckled streets, the fury of flames, and the power of floodwaters right there in front of us, and dangling overhead power lines, and they're just like a wrecked toy set.
Joe Rico, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and emotions and experiences with us. Our first contact with the outside world was, as is often the case, from you, our viewers, calling in to report how much damage you had. Of course, we knew that there must be a lot of people out there who couldn't call in who had damage a lot worse. We knew that, but we weren't prepared for what we saw next.
Oh, my daddy's in there!
Come on. Hey, it could explode at any minute. Get out of the house. Go across the street.
Evacuate the area.
Get out of there. Everybody out.
I'm driving along the 5 freeway. I'm going southbound, and there's traffic in the southbound lanes coming at me in the number 1 lane. I am southbound on the 5 at the Calgrove exit. I'm in the Santa Clarita Valley, and I'm in shock. There's traffic coming straight at me. I'm going southbound on the 5, and there's traffic. I've just taken a hit. There's a break in the road.
Have you got your gas off?
It doesn't matter. It's in the sewer. Look at it coming from under the...
I know it.
Get out before this fuck time you. Okay, get it up. That's my thought.
Just be careful, man.
I thought I heard somebody barking. I don't know if they were barking or not.
Anybody down here?
Hello, is anybody there?
Joe, is he underneath us?
Yeah.
He's underneath right there. We can't get to it from this side. Okay. The whole thing just shifted down one. Right.
Hey, watch out for the... Make sure there's no nails. Splitters. There's going to step on.
Watch out for the nails.
Everybody got them? Watch out for glass.
Okay, you're okay. You're okay.
Is it what? Is it floor, wood, or what?
This is all the first floor underneath here. This is the second floor right here. This is the second floor. That's the first floor. You hear that? Hey, be careful.
Due to the earthquake in the area you are calling, your call cannot be completed at this time. Please try your call later.
Damage from this earthquake, although perhaps many minor incidents, is going to be extensive.
It just felt like something hit the side of the house, and then it just started rolling and got stronger and stronger, and the house started shaking back and forth.
As you look out your window, it's probably pitch dark right now. Oops, hang on 1 second. This is a very sharp aftershock that just hit us right now.
Our whole house, which is a 2-story house in Calabasas, really shook. Stuff came off the walls. It was impossible to even try to stand up and walk around.
That pile right there, the first pile you come to is where they're at.
Right here? Is that
That pile. That light. Give me that light.
There seems to be a lot of reports of damage and rock slides on the 14 freeway from the Antelope Valley down to the San Fernando Valley. And according to some of the mobile people, they seem to say that the 14 freeway is closed at San Fernando Road.
Right now, the best we know is that this was an earthquake that came through about 4:31 this morning, lasted about 30 seconds in the strongest hit areas, and preliminarily may have measured 6.5 on the Richter scale.
If you're joining us now, you can see on the screen here what to do after an aftershock. If you're inside your house, stay there right now. Get under something sturdy. Certainly don't do what I did this morning. That was to jump out of bed immediately and run in to see what's going on in the house. Stay away from items that can fall off the shelves or break.
The big thing is do not panic. Right now, we are collecting lots of information from all over Southern California. We're going to bring it to you as fast and as accurate as possible. We don't want to give you any misinformation.
I don't know about you, but I felt a real strong jolt for about 15 seconds as I jumped out of bed to see what the baby was doing, because I have an infant just down in one of the other rooms. I fell as I got out of bed.
Did you?
And that was about 15, 20 seconds. Yeah. It stopped, and then it started again. But it was a strong jolt, unlike any I've ever felt.
The Santa Monica Freeway itself is closed in both directions now, east and westbound at Fairfax.
What did you hear?
It's just a rumble, just a hard rumble, and all of a sudden, smash! It just smashed. And it came down, and everything was just destroyed, just totally destroyed.
I have never seen anything like this
Yeah,
in
the freeway
Los
buckled.
Angeles.
Yes. The freeway just completely buckled. I mean, it was just horrendous. It just buckled.
This is a rather strong aftershock that we are feeling right now at 5:26. You're looking at a live picture.
This
our
is
Channel
exactly
4
what we were talking
seismocam.
about.
And my goodness, that one certainly came through strongly.
Let's go live right now to Conan Nolan, who's at Caltech, and he can give us a lot more information on this earthquake. Good morning, Conan. What do they have so far?
This is a magnitude 6.6 earthquake. It was centered in the northern San Fernando Valley area. They're still trying to ascertain the exact epicenter. They've been in contact with the National Earthquake Center in Golden, Colorado, and the 6.6 number is what both agencies have agreed on. This is the very beginning of the earthquake, and as it progressed, and you could probably get the same reading from the Channel 4 News seismograph, this is essentially the end of the main shock and then the beginning of some of the major aftershocks.
The preliminary magnitude 6.6 for a quake at 4:31 this morning in San Fernando Valley. It was widely felt all over Southern California and as far away as Las Vegas. We believe it was on a shallow thrust fault under the San Fernando Valley. At this point, we don't know whether it's one of the main named faults or whether it's something new. A lot of faults in California go straight down into the crust. But this one goes the San Fernando fault went down at an angle of about 45 degrees, and this one appears to be more shallow than that. So the fault actually has an angle to it, and San Fernando Valley would be up here, and the fault is like this. So most of San Fernando Valley is going to be exposed to activity very close to the fault. Okay, and a thrust fault means that this side is sliding up over the part below it.
We are now starting to get a lot of damage reports in.
Okay, we have a live picture of a fire going right now.
Can we cut it down? We need help. Get all those brooms we have. And we'll just get up there.
Kenton Carl, I'm out here in the San Fernando Valley, where, as you've been watching, there is a structure on fire. I'm standing by with one of the neighbors, one of the residents here, who can maybe tell us a little bit more. Ma'am, what's your name?
Christine Eubank.
And you live right next door to this house?
Right.
Describe for me what you saw, how this got started.
It was in the attic, apparently. At just one corner of the house started flaming up, and we tried to get water on it, but there's no water pressure up here.
Were there people home at the time?
Yeah, we started screaming for them, and they were coming out at the time.
The very latest, Los Angeles Mayor Dick Reardon has just said that he has signed a declaration of local emergency in Los Angeles. That means that government departments in the city of Los Angeles are on a tactical alert this morning. This was a widely felt earthquake to the north, Santa Barbara and Bakersfield. Reports from as far east as Las Vegas and South San Diego and into Mexico, Carla.
Okay, let's find out.
This man is actually evacuating people out of the San Fernando area because of what you can see behind us here. If you can pan over, there is a massive fire that's underway here in San Fernando. A number of homes have already been destroyed. People are now evacuating. As you can see, the charred remains of some cars are still in the middle of the street. We are told that there is a major oil line, an oil line that runs beneath this particular neighborhood. Apparently the earthquake ruptured that line and set off a major fire, and that's going to be a big problem trying to get that fire extinguished, an oil fire. Sir, you were in the neighborhood. Are these some people who are being evacuated now?
These are actually the leftovers off of my street. We had a whole busload. Those people have already been taken to San Fernando Park. We're on the second route right now to pick up the rest of the people who need to be evacuated. We came to this location because of the fire, so we figured they would need to be evacuated first.
Then the oil was running down here, and you could see some smoke down there, and pretty soon, kaboom, it blew up down there, and it just followed the oil all the way down and blew up all the cars along the street. Explosion after explosion, all the way down the street, right to the house here.
Okay, we can tell you that the I-5 highway and the 14 is damaged. LAX is closed. Now, this is only as a precaution. There is no damage over there, and Metrolink services are closed for this morning.
A helicopter report from one scene says that some 30 to 40 homes are on fire around Sylmar, which would be near the heart of this morning's earthquake epicenter.
We didn't bother to try to get stuff out. We lost everything.
Northridge, as the epicenter, is new information to us. We have suspected the northern section of the San Fernando Valley. That's what Caltech's been saying, but pinning things down to Northridge tells us quite a lot. If you're not familiar with the area, it's the northern edge of the San Fernando Valley. It's a heavily populated bedroom community to Los Angeles.
And the mayor of Los Angeles is reporting one fatality from this morning's earthquake. Apparently, our Mayor Reardon told CNN that the fatality took place on a freeway. He gave no additional details, but said there's been serious structural damage on 3 freeways. So this is the first unofficial report of any fatality due to this earthquake that hit at 4:31 this morning.
And so that is unfortunate because now this earthquake this morning in Southern California has become deadly.
Are you in a car?
He sounds like he's right here.
He sounds like he's right here.
Sounds like he's right
Where were you when it crashed, when that happened?
We were sleeping in the bedroom upstairs. All the way upstairs. Then we had some guests downstairs, and we woke up and we were under this rubble.
Are they out?
Yeah, we all made it okay.
It felt like a big giant just grabbed the building and just tossed it around. I was sitting up watching the news, the early morning news, and it felt like a big giant was just tossing the whole room around. I was scared. I didn't realize what was happening at first. So when I did realize what happened, I jumped between the mattress and the box spring.
Mike, take the handful out.
I have never ever seen anything like this, obviously, in Los Angeles. I want you to come with me. Lacey Lowe is a neighbor, and he's going to help us. We're going to get up on the freeway, but I want you to take a look at this. The Santa Monica Freeway at La Cienega, totally down, smashed to the ground. We are told that there are 2 cars that are slammed into the concrete up on top, and we're going to try to get up there.
Again, this is on the Santa Monica Freeway at La Cienega Boulevard as Laurel Erickson attempts to climb up to the top there that has flattened down to the ground. Laurel, be careful up there.
Yeah, we are. Now we're up on top of the freeway, and we can see the damage, the buckling. Thank heavens nobody was on this freeway as they were traveling to work this morning.
Okay, Carl, we're here in Granada Hills near the intersection of Rinaldi and Balboa, and behind me you can see there fire and water. Waiting back in the background, we have a major gas main that had ruptured, and right before it, right in the foreground, a water main. It's basically sending rivers of water just basically right down onto, if you will, the 118 freeway. The smell of gas is very heavy in the air, and right in the foreground, we really can't see, but this side of that pickup truck is another gas main right underneath there, and it is bubbling. It is there that the fire department just chased us out of there because the smell of gas is very heavy. Right now, traffic is, I'm not sure we can take had we dare, let's take a turn around here, David, and take a look at all the traffic over here on Rinaldi as it heads out towards the 118. It is basically tying up traffic here, flooding everywhere, especially on the east and westbound Rinaldi direction, going towards, say, the 405 freeway. Traffic basically is moving at a snail's pace, and they're clearing out the area right now. A lot of people are just basically walking around aghast. They just can't believe what kind of a sight this is, both fire and water, and the contrast is absolutely powerful, and the smell of gas is very heavy in the air. They're probably going to be sending us out of the area in a matter of minutes because, whoops, hang on one second, there's one major aftershock. Okay, Dave, let's back up. We're underneath this power line. It's not a good place to be right now.
The biggest problem right now seems to be a mobile home park out in Sylmar at the 210 freeway in the San Fernando Road. About 20 mobile homes are fully engulfed in flames. And the problem is we continue to have these aftershocks. We understand that this particular fire was caused by gas leaks and explosions. Once again, that is a mobile home park, 210 freeway and San Fernando Valley Road up in the Sylmar area.
I mean, I know her name if that's what you need.
No color. This one would make it the third.
I don't know. I don't know how many.
Yo. Bedroom's clear. Bathroom's clear.
Check closet?
Yes, they're clear.
The scene is northbound 5 and the southbound 14. The overcrossing of the southbound 14, as you can see here, has actually collapsed and pancaked atop the northbound lanes of the Golden State Freeway. With me here is Phil Wyrider, who is a spokesperson for the fire department in Los Angeles. Tell us, if you can, please, how many fatalities are we aware of at this point? How many injuries at this particular location? We'll just take a look as he talks to us at what's going on out here, please.
My understanding, at this time, we know we have one confirmed fatality on the scene. We had 2 critical patients, which were airlifted by LA County Fire, one of their air squads to Holy Cross Hospital. The fatality is a law enforcement personnel. It's being investigated, obviously, by the California Highway Patrol and the Los Angeles Police Department. We're looking at about a span of a quarter mile of the southbound 14 connector to the southbound 5, which has collapsed. About 5 or 6 vehicles involved in this area. We do not know if there's any vehicles underneath the connector road bridge area because we can't get underneath there. We did have the 2 critical patients, and then we also have a report of 1 female adult that was from the witnesses saying that she was pregnant. She was also airlifted out of the area, but by what agency, I'm not sure.
Now, there's a vehicle that's abandoned. The front of it looks like it has been lifted. Who was in that vehicle, do you know?
My understanding from witnesses on the scene just prior to my arrival that it was the female adult I spoke of. She was transported to an area hospital. The other 2 patients were transported. Like I said, LA County Fire took those 2.
Carla, right now we've moved location once again. We're on Moore Park now, this time at the scene of an apartment building that has just been condemned by the fire department. Any more movement of the ground, any more shaking can bring this entire building down. We'll continue to show you some of the damage on this particular building as we talk to Rafael and Christina Rodriguez. Just describe where you were, how it happened for you.
Well, we were in the bedroom and all of a sudden it just started shaking. The TV fell over, the dresser, everything just started going. The bed started moving, the glass, everything just started falling.
I mean, there was people hysterical and everybody was just in there. A lot of people
were stuck. A lot of people were stuck
inside.
They couldn't get out. We had to kick doors in.
We're showing you pictures now of the side of the apartment building on the driveway where you can see that the building is so badly damaged, it's been completely buckled out. You've got cracks, you've got windows broken.
Governor Wilson has just signed a state disaster declaration for the Los Angeles earthquake. The declaration then makes Southern California eligible for state emergency help and loans. Wilson is asking President Clinton to make a similar federal declaration. That is the Kaiser Permanente facility that you're looking at now in Granada Hills, and you can see that both sides of that structure have been, well, severely damaged. Fortunately, at the time the earthquake occurred, we understand that there were no serious injuries at all in that facility.
We're
in Sylmar, just off Bradley, at the Tahitian Trailer Park, where some 44 mobile homes were lost in just this portion of the park alone. Another 20 just north of here, according to the battalion chief to whom I spoke just moments ago. The residents have been coming in and out to survey the damage, but they were evacuated safely. Is our understanding. They were all awakened by the earthquake and took off running, stood in the yard and watched the firefighters battle the flames, which began because of a gas leak. The mains that were ruptured underground provoked this fire, and apparently it was a chain reaction beginning on one side of the complex and moving quickly to the other side. I understand from the battalion chief that because of the direction that the winds were blowing in, that fanned the flames and made matters worse. Had it been blowing from the other direction, he tells me they probably could have contained this, but instead 44 homes were lost just in this portion of the complex alone, and another 22 slightly north of our location.
Take a look at this resident surveying what is left of her world in Sylmar. This one of 3 mobile home parks that burned in Sylmar, a total of 64 or more mobile homes in all, 40 of them in one park because of a ruptured gas main, it's believed. And this is what she had to wake up to today, because first the earthquake started, and then after the damage from the earthquake, almost immediately fire damage as well. It's just so unfortunate, because this is the true heart and soul of this particular story. This is a story that's going to be repeated dozens of times over around Southern California. This is the loss. This is someone's life. This is what happened when a 64-car freight train carrying hazardous materials derailed this morning because of the earthquake. Now, Southern Pacific Railway says the train was derailed as it traveled between Chatsworth and Northridge, so this very near to the earthquake epicenter. And Southern Pacific is saying no reports of leaks or injuries. Look at this live picture.
Yeah, this is Vicky
and
Vargas.
I'll get back to another point in a second.
Yeah, Vicky, tell us about it. Looks like it's teetering, ready to go.
This was your home. Yeah. It happened right away at 4:30 this morning. No warning. Everything literally fell on top of you. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
How did you manage to get out?
Be honest, miracle. That's what I was just telling my friends. You get some extra strength in your cell to get out. Where both of us were bleeding. I was holding my wife. Come answer her before fire starts. And we're crawling again. We're hitting ourselves more and more. And I don't know. I really don't know. But
you showed me literally. Let's walk down over here. This white piece, the beam wood ceiling, was the ceiling of your home.
Correct. That's the ceiling. Another, the white one was sheer, and it collapsed the other way.
And you, your wife, and your father-in-law were inside?
Inside.
30 years in the same home. You've been through the Sylmar earthquake. Does this even compare to that?
No, no way.
This is the hospital, which is right next to that Kaiser Permanente building that we showed you earlier, the one which is completely destroyed. What we have here behind me is the emergency room section of the hospital. It's out here in the parking lot. Take a look. We have a number of people waiting for treatment here. Many of them say they were injured during the earthquake. Things fell on them. They were cut walking on glass, a number of broken bones, and that type of thing. One of the women who was seriously injured with cuts on her hands is Sharon Pierce. She was inside. Fabian, if you can turn around and show us Sharon Pierce. She was inside her home. Her first reaction was to get to her 13-year-old daughter. Sharon, tell us your story. What happened?
Well, I just turned my TV off, and all of a sudden I heard everything starting to shake, and I just couldn't stand up out of my bed, and all the glass was flying, and I just crawled to my daughter's room to get her, and there was big sheets of glass, I guess, on the floor, and that's where I severed some tendons and things in my hands and my knees, and I have to have some surgery. And I just really want to say that inside they have been incredible.
Let's all stay cool. Let's thank God that we have such strong leadership in the city of Los Angeles. We have problems ahead of us, but I feel that we have the type of people that can solve those problems and stay top of everything. I congratulate the citizens of Los Angeles for the cool they've shown so far. Keep it up, and God bless all of you.
Right now, I'm just the other side of the parking lot. Take a look behind me. We're going to show you the building just across the way from the Granada Hills Community Hospital. This is the Kaiser Permanente building. This is clinic buildings, doctor's office buildings. Very fortunately, this is not a hospital facility. No one was inside, we're told, when the earthquake happened. Take a look now at some of the damage along the side of the building. You can see it even more dramatically from this angle. The entire building is a complete disaster, an absolute wreck, and will no doubt be condemned as soon as possible.
Okay, let's go up to the community desk. I think they have some more information up there. And Chuck Henry, are you manning that desk?
Yes, this is not a good story to tell you. This is an apartment complex that you're looking at around the 9500 block of Reseda Boulevard in Northridge. The tragedy here is, and as our helicopter moves around, you're going to be able to see it. You see fire trucks now to the left of your screen as we come around. You'll see some men in yellow jackets working in the rubble.
Colleen and Chuck, I'm at the Northridge apartment building where the news is very, very grim. There have been 5 fatalities. If you look behind me, you'll see that the second floor is now the first floor. The first floor of this, there are about 60 apartments here, have been completely decimated. With me is Eric Pearson, who is also an emergency medical technician, but he lived in the building and was here. Eric, come over here. Tell me a little bit about what it was like. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you, the building, it was like a bomb going off. The bomb went off, boom, one loud sound, building came up, shook a couple times, 12 feet straight down. Our bed went down, then we went down to the bed. Then the building took a hard tilt diagonally, which basically fused all the doors on the 3rd story of our apartment building. As you can see, the apartment building, it's happened on all 4 sides. It's the same thing. North, south, east, and west, we lost the first floor on all sides.
How did you get out?
Well, I couldn't get the door open. It was fused. I tried to sledgehammer, couldn't do that. A guy next door was trying to axe. He couldn't do that. So all I did is climb down the side of the 3rd story balcony, put my wife in front of me where my chest is, and climbed down with my hands and took my wife down with me, holding her with one arm.
Is there anybody else in there with you? Hey,
No.
was there anyone else around you that you could hear any voices?
No.
No one at all? You couldn't hear anything at all?
Left side, my roommate.
Well, we got your roommate. Okay. But you heard nobody else in another apartment, what we're asking about. Okay, great. Ready? Okay. Okay, we're coming out. Come on, let's go. Let's go. Come on, let's get some room here. Back up.
First, let me, if I might, comment on the earthquake that struck Los Angeles and the San Fernando Valley very early this morning. I have spoken with Governor Wilson and with Mayor Reardon by phone. I've assured them that we intend to do everything we possibly can to help the people of Los Angeles and Southern California deal with the earthquake and its aftermath. I ask the American people to remember the people of Los Angeles County in their thoughts and prayers today. It's going to be a very difficult few weeks for them as they try to come through the immediate dangers, and there are still some immediate dangers there, and then the aftermath.
This is that shopping center out in the Northridge area where the Bullock store was. This is the parking structure. But the interesting thing is, and we've been kind of watching this off and on for the better part of an hour, you see some rescue workers on top of the parking structure. There's the camera. There they are. Right there's the camera. Now, they have been working in that area, as I said, for the better part of an hour, which would lead one to believe that they're looking for someone or something down there.
We have one man that's under a parking structure, a crush injury.
I think he's right below you, Jerry.
I think he's right here.
Yeah. This way, there's no way.
I don't know if Captain Bob has any information on that at all that you could shed any light on this.
Chuck, yes, I can. They've actually been working up here for the past 3 hours. This 3-story parking structure collapsed here in the Northridge Shopping Center with the initial shocks. And when we first came over, probably about 7, they were working then, trying to get down through the layers of concrete that have collapsed down upon themselves. So they obviously have some word, or maybe they are in voice contact. We haven't been able to confirm that with people that are trapped here.
Get some pry bars. Let's get this. Pry bar? Jumbo bar?
They looked like they were passing packages. Could have been bandages, could have been first aid kits. If in fact there were multiple square rectangular package looking things that they were passing down, if those are indeed first aid kits or triage kits, they passed quite a few of them down there, which might indicate we've got multiple people trapped here, but it would also indicate that they're alive. We're guessing because we're looking at the top of this iceberg. Underneath there is where the drama is occurring.
He's probably not going to survive. He's being crushed from the pelvic down. We have to remove about 2 parking levels of concrete off of him. Then we have to cut his truck out from around him.
His legs are trapped about mid-femur there.
We have confirmation then that there is at least one person trapped under there, and his name is Salvador.
We attempted IVs, and the way he's contorted in there was not possible. He is on oxygen, and as soon as we can, we'll get those IVs and get him out of here.
I was almost flung out of my bed. I couldn't move. I was so scared. It seemed like it lasted forever.
Right now we're waiting for another update from some of the scientists here at Caltech, but I have to report we have a name for this earthquake. They have dubbed it the Northridge Earthquake, magnitude of course 6.6 on the Richter scale.
Jerry!
Get back!
You couldn't get out of the back bedroom?
We couldn't even move. The floor was moving so hard we couldn't even move. I mean, I was thrown out of bed, and that's all I did. It was so scary.
Our house shook, our bed collapsed, our dresser fell over onto us on the bed. Everything from everywhere collapsed, and there was just breaking glass and shattering.
The noise
shit.
was incredible.
An incredible amount of noise. It sounded like a bomb went off.
I was asleep and woke up with the jolt that was unbelievable, and the shaking. It was just a total nightmare.
Here's an update. What we do know at this hour, we have a death toll of 14 confirmed dead, and search for victims continues, especially in the parking structure over in the mall in Northridge. Building collapses, as we have been looking at, including that apartment complex where 3 died and 2 were rescued. Gas leaks and fires, not as many at this hour as we had earlier in the day. Major overpasses down. We've taken a look at the freeway situation. We've got at least 4 major freeways, the 10, the 14, the 5, and the 118. And, of course, they're asking you to turn off power if you don't need it. And the other thing is about boiling water.
That's
and that's
right.
because of the chlorination facility, which was heavily damaged and is now out of service. They want you to boil your water for at least 20 minutes before using it.
Now, not only was this simply a major commuter nightmare of sorts here, this was also the scene of a fatality. There were numerous injuries here, but there was, in addition, a fatality. We have some video now to show you of that particular fatality. The victim, an LAPD police officer. The officer, as we understand it, was a motor officer en route for duty this morning. He was southbound on the Antelope Valley Freeway when the freeway suddenly disappeared in front of him. He careened off the freeway. He was assisted by several motorists, passers-by who attempted to help him, but all of that regrettably proved futile.
Move with us now to Encino, the corner of Havenhurst and Ventura Boulevard. This is actually a water overflow pipe that was out of control for some 5 hours.
Olivier is with me. You rode this out here in Encino. What's been your experience this morning?
Well, this morning we woke up and everything was just shaking, everything was falling down. Our front windows, all of them are busted out. We have a huge crack going down our living room wall. It looks like the balcony in the apartment above us is going to come down. We just have to wait and see right now.
I went to Tacuda in San Fernando at the site of a fire that has burned 3 houses and an apartment complex. You're looking at the apartment complex that was burned down. A gentleman here is trying to put out some flames that are still burning from this morning. I have with me Leticia Garcia, who was in one of the houses that burned down. Tell me what happened this morning, Leticia.
Excuse me, hold on.
Are you okay?
Yeah. When the earthquake, I was in my house. So as soon as the earthquake stopped, I came and checked up on my mom and dad. And then we saw a fire starting in the back building. So I got them all out. We're all on the street, and all of a sudden, explosions started going on. And they went right into my mom's house, and everything started burning down. Everything is burned.
Your sister owned 3 houses?
Yes. My mom's house and my brother's house burned. There's 3 families out now.
they lost everything. Everything. I don't have anything left.
You weren't able to get anything out of the house?
Nothing. They're all out in their pajamas. They don't have anything.
So you just left the houses and you had to turn around and watch what happened then? Huh?
Yes, we couldn't do anything. We just watched everything burn down.
Oh my God.
For the time being, patients started streaming into emergency rooms just a few minutes after the quake started. Like many people, this man was injured not by a collapsed building or a hole in the ground, but as he jumped from bed to take refuge in a doorway.
An antique that I have fell off the wall and I ran through it. The glass came down and I tore the tendon in my toe.
All of the beds inside Cedar's emergency room are filled at this point. People are waiting in the hallway, in the waiting room, and outside in the street for care. We're seeing all sorts of injuries and illnesses worsened by the quake.
My husband's on oxygen 24 hours a day. And when the electricity went off, his compactor that makes oxygen also went off. And he only has about another hour of oxygen now. And it was time for his breathing treatment, so he's here because the electricity isn't working, and so nothing is working.
While Barbara's husband was doing fine after receiving oxygen in the ER, others were not necessarily faring as well.
People are having chest pain and shortness of breath. People who are barely compromised medically have not been able to withstand the emotional stress of the earthquake and have come to the emergency department.
Now, luckily, many staff members, doctors and nurses were on overnight duty in the hospital when the first patients came in, and many plan to stay until all the patients are treated.
My daughter stepped out of bed onto a piece of broken glass and has a severe laceration. And so we've been here since 5 o'clock in the morning.
I've got a cut on my leg. Everything fell down in my whole house. The bookcases, I think the TV fell on top of me. I don't know. Bookcases fell down, and we were just lucky to get out. We weren't killed.
I had to jump through my bedroom's window, try to get out because the door was jammed.
This is a park, obviously, and what you're seeing are people that are, have taken their cars out there, and it looks as if they've almost begun to camp out. We'll get more now from Bob Petty. Bob?
Yeah, Chuck, this is Lanark Park, Strathern and Topanga Canyon Boulevard out here in the West Valley. There's several large apartment buildings at the top of the picture. The cameraman will pan up and go wide a little bit. There are about a dozen or more apartment buildings immediately adjacent to this park, along with other residential areas. These people apparently have taken refuge in Lanark Park, possibly because they've had some structures failing around them in those apartment buildings or just because they feel safer outside during these many aftershocks that we're experiencing.
We are at the Northridge Manor Apartments, one of the most hardest hit buildings in this earthquake, and we have an update with Captain Wade Jones. Captain, if you could step over here, please. What is the fatality rate at this building right now?
Well, it's unconfirmed at 9, but we're not sure how many more fatalities we're going to find.
So does that mean that you are still searching?
Yeah, primary search is still going on in the building right now. We have a strike team that's on scene from Orange County, and they've started in a portion of the building that we've not been able to attack as yet. But it's a slow process now, just trying to find the people that may still be inside.
Do you hear any voices? Are there any indications?
No, we're not hearing any more voices. Now it's just a slow process of going from unit to unit to try and find the people. The people that were on the first floor, we're actually having to dig through the concrete between the second and first floor so we can find them. And that's what we're finding right now.
This is a picture from Granada Hills. This is the one at Rinaldi and Balboa that we've talked about. Take a look at the street here and how it's buckled. The best picture you can get is from the air here, because we've seen this at street level all morning and never really understood the magnitude.
I don't have to say much, quite frankly. The pictures speak for themselves. Behind me here in the 11,000 block of Balboa, north of Rinaldi, is a gas main that broke shortly after the earthquake. I'm going to step aside for just a moment so we can speak with one of the residents who witnessed this, or heard it anyway. Nancy Bunner, you heard it after the earthquake. Can you describe exactly what happened?
Well, it was about 15 minutes after the earthquake, and we were looking out our window, and everybody was asking if everybody's okay. And a water main had broke, and the water was just so powerful. It was like the river. It was like a river here. And then I kept looking out the window because I didn't know whether we should leave. I didn't know if the water was going to get in our house. I didn't know. We kept on continuing watching. And then all of a sudden these trucks started driving up the street. and a big wall, like a water main broke, and it was shooting up, and I think it stalled their cars. And when their cars went to start back up, the gas main broke, and then it was like 200 feet in the air. It was taller than these palm trees. It was really high.
I'm Wendy Takuda at a home in San Fernando at Haskell and San Fernando Mission. With me is Carlos Ortega. We're in the bedroom where he was sleeping when the earthquake happened. And the TV fell down on your head?
Yeah, the TV was up here, and the TV fell down, and he jumps on the bed, and he got to my head. And as you can see, the TV is all completely gone. It's broke. And
everything is off the shelves over here, Carlos. Dave, if you can take pictures and show us how everything has fallen to the ground. And in your house, you've got some cracks in the walls as well now?
Right, correct. It's on the main bedroom and in the bathroom. And there's some cracks outside, too, in the house, in the bathroom, too.
Right now, we're looking at another one of the bedrooms.
This is my son's room.
Where also the TV flew off.
He was trapped in there because of the the mirror, and all these dressers just went into his bed, and he was sleeping. So, and the baby was in the other room, which we couldn't get it out because, I mean, it was so dark, no light, no electricity, no nothing, and I mean, I really thought it was the end of the world.
But everyone is safe.
Thanks God, yes.
Let's take a look at some of the other damage. This is the baby's room here. You can see the.
She was in the crib, and she was crying, and I mean, she was petrified.
Maybe, Dave, you can show us here. This completely has fallen over here, the chest of drawers.
Right.
And follow us over here.
The crate was kind of far away from down there.
You were saying, Carlos, that you thought it felt like the end of the world, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes, believe me. I've been in earthquakes before, but nothing like this.
Okay, this is your front room over here now.
Yeah, this is the living room.
Mm-hmm. Let's take the camera over. This way you can see things have fallen. All the fireplace tools have fallen, pictures hanging strangely off the walls. All of the items have fallen off shelves. This is the kitchen that we're looking at over here.
Right. As you can see, it's nothing on the shelves. Everything is on the floor. And, well, now I guess we're going to have to start again.
And once again, we have this live rescue attempt, which is going on. It's probably in its 5th hour now, if not a little bit longer. We have one man who's down there. He was sweeping out the parking structure at the Northridge Fashion Mall, and he is in the cab of the little sweeper. And we understand that there are some fire rescue men who are down there at the same level that he is now, and they're trying to get the debris off of him. And in order to do that, they've been sending down airbags, which they inflate that hopefully will lift the concrete, but they have to do a lot of shoring up. And the thing that makes this so dramatic is the fact that we do have aftershocks, and the one thing you don't want to happen is have an aftershock which would in any way move the rubble that's there now, and of course the shoring up which they're doing, which we can't see.
Oh, we're rocking again.
We're rocking and rolling again.
Yes, that was the largest aftershock that we have felt since the original earthquake at 4:31 this morning, and this one coming at about 12:46. That was a good one.
I tell you, it took my breath away. Here, we watched all the lights move around in the camera here, and you can see it on the seismocam.
That aftershock brings out an interesting point. There's Bob Petty, and once again, he said when you have these aftershocks, you see this smoke, which is from the debris, falling rocks and whatnot. Bob, obviously you can't feel anything up there, but you can certainly see it.
Oh, you better believe it. Look at that. That's the side of the hills up just north of the Santa Susana Pass, up above the Topanga Canyon, where it hits the 118. When that aftershock hit, it just erupted and looked like smoke pouring out of the side of the hill, which is indeed just dust and rock slides.
What we need to do right now is we need to go directly out to Vicky Vargas at the Northridge Fashion, the shopping center out there. Remember, we told you the rubble, they're doing the rescue work, they're trying to find Salvador. We said if there was a heavy aftershock, who knows what could happen. That's the last thing in the world they need out at that rescue effort. So let's go live to Vicky Vargas, if you can hear us. Vicky.
Chuck, I can hear you. I think it was perhaps the biggest setback so far this morning. We watched, the ground shook. There's a gas company truck standing next to us, parked next to us. It came and tilted back and forth on its tires, and we saw some of those rescue workers literally knocked off their feet. A few of them fell back. Thank goodness they wear helmets and knee pads. That's one of the reasons why. But without a doubt, this is a setback, because over to the right, What they're doing now is sawing up some more boards, sawing up some more of that cribbing that they were talking about. Obviously, they need to get a lot more of that in. And what I noticed some of these firefighters doing as soon as the ground started to shake here, of course, was to look up. But this structure, obviously, still very unstable.
But let's cut inside for just one moment so that you can look at the extra edition of the San Gabriel Valley Tribune that just came out. This tells the whole story in one number and one word, 6.6 quake. And then after that, San Fernando Valley hit hard, an extra edition that came out this morning.
There are 6 firefighters down in there. We're going on 7.5 hours of this rescue effort. We've been told that in that time, they have managed to lift the concrete 6 inches. Now, while that might not sound like much, the chief here says they do have good access to Salvador. They have removed literally the first layer of concrete. It's big enough for one person to crawl down inside. They're supplying him with oxygen, the IV. Yeah, I think they're getting ready to pull him out. That is a stretcher that was about to go in just a moment ago.
They look like they may have a backboard, and there is a flurry of activity right around the opening where the rescue team had gone in. And I believe they may have him, but let's hold on here and watch. But you can see them wrapping towels, wrapping bandages, or wrapping something around.
There's a man who's been buried alive for 8 hours.
Just 15 minutes shy of that. Well, let me take it back. It's been a little less than that they've been working on him.
It's like they're out of the hole.
Yeah, we'll interrupt you for just a second. They're
It looks like they're moving
taking
him.
him.
They are moving him. They're bringing him towards you, Vicki. They're bringing him across the center section of that collapsed parking structure.
And they have to be careful about that too, Bob.
Yeah, I bet
it's not
they do.
real easy
And
terrain.
here, you've got a good picture of him now, much better than us.
We're getting a wonderful look at him. I see his neck brace like they said it would be. They need to stabilize him. They keep him steady. They're putting him on a gurney, getting ready to take him to that ambulance.
The City of Los Angeles Fire Department, once again proving how good they are. Second, your impulse, quite understandably, is heartbreak for the people who have lost their homes. And our first concern is to prevent the loss of life. There's no way that words can express how you feel, what you say. There aren't any words that can comfort someone who has lost a loved one.
We have to get back to where things were before the earthquake.
You feel so powerless, and an earthquake just it creates a kind of a fear that is hard to handle. And I think one of the things that I've seen are a lot of very calm people helping others, and that is really the spirit. That's what matters more than anything else.
Find out that the spirit of volunteerism is already alive and well here in Granada Hills. Take a look over here and see the people who are pouring this water. This young couple just decided to come out. They live right across the street. They decided to come out, help out. Brian, tell us what got you into helping out here.
Well, we have everything that's been going on. It's been really crazy around here. We were watching across the street, and we seen the building come down this morning. It was really unbelievable. And there was just so many people around here, and we came over here, and I heard some real old lady. She asked for some water, and I seen the bottle that was so heavy that no one could lift them, so we just started pouring water and trying to help people out and make them feel as comfortable as possible.
He said, is anyone in there? And we said yes, and we couldn't get out. He said, stand back, and all of a sudden he kicked through the door, and he said, you get out right now. He says, I don't know how long you have, but get out.
A neighbor from upstairs that I know came down and just kicked the door in and blasted through the apartment with a flashlight just to make sure everything was okay.
And the guy comes in, I says, please help those people down there. They're trapped. He said, I want to get you out. I said, no, get them. and then he just grabbed me out of my window.
But this is Normandy in South Central, just south of Martin Luther King Boulevard, where we've got an apartment complex or two large single-family homes fully involved. Again, with no telling whether it's directly related to the quake, but as all of us know, the shock of the quake knocking about the gas lines can cause damage later, especially when we have these series of aftershocks later. This is about 2 blocks south of Martin Luther King Boulevard, right on Normandy. Let me get around to this side here. Maybe I was wrong about the 2. It appeared to be 2 as we came up. As you can see, it's a fairly large, older home that appears to have fire escapes on it, which means it's probably a multi-residences, a multi-family residence inside that. But the front of it seems to be fully involved inside, although the smoke is white. The firefighters still have not totally ventilated the roof to be able to get the water inside, so it's not the total knockdown white that you see. It's still a boiling, burning white smoke from fire inside that building. About 2 blocks south of Martin Luther King Boulevard, probably a direct relation of either the quake or the aftershocks knocking about the gas pipes.
We have President Clinton who's talking right now about the Southern California quake.
All of us should be very sensitive to what they are going through now. I know the rest of America will offer them their thoughts and their prayers tonight, and will support our common efforts to help them to recover from this tragedy and to get on with the business of rebuilding their lives. The assistance here will be short-term to help people get through the next few days, but there will also be long-term work to be done, and we expect to be involved as full partners in that.
And we've just seen something else cross the wire here. San Fernando police have imposed a curfew. They declared a state of emergency in that city, in the city of San Fernando. There'll be a curfew from dusk to dawn in that city.
You were in that apartment building, the one that is now about a story or two lower than the one next door to it. Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, there was a large earthquake. It started out as an average earthquake, and then all of a sudden there was a big jolt from underneath, and the room just kept shaking, and everything was flying all over. The television, the VCR, the dresser came down, and I could not get out of bed, and I'm living with my boyfriend, and we both were stuck in bed as the bed was rattling.
You were on the 3rd floor?
Mm-hmm. Yes, which is now the 2nd floor. The 3rd floor was as high as that building right there. Once we hit the ground, we realized that the carports, which had my car and his car, were no longer there. The 2nd floor had now been on the ground. As you can see that it's lower. And at that moment, I realized that the people on the 1st floor were probably squashed because there was nothing left of the 1st floor. So he got me out safely, and he went back in and was able to help at least 4 to 6 people come out. And by knocking down their doors, because as we were walking out, all we kept hearing was, "Help me, please help me," all over the apartment complex.
I'm Stephanie Frederick in Sherman Oaks, where an apartment building has virtually lost one of its floors. This used to be a 4-story building, now has been reduced to 3 floors. Let's just take a look at the damage. This used to be a driveway. Cars used to drive through here, but no longer. Now there are cars, about a dozen or so cars, from what we're told, trapped underneath, crushed underneath. A gentleman who lives here is Tad Myers. Tad, tell us what happened.
4:30 this morning, we all got woken up, obviously everybody in LA, tossed around the room like little kids. Finally, when it stopped, we just grabbed some robes and went out in the hallway. It was pitch black. Ran down the stairs and got out the front door because the seam had split between the door and the panel. We could walk right out and had to climb up. Instead of climbing downstairs, we had to climb up like 3 feet of concrete. Water main busted. We got down the stairwell, and this door was cockeyed off the hinge, and we just were able to crawl out around the side, and there was like glass and metal everywhere. Just stepped up and got out here, washed our feet off in the water down here in the street.
Now, there were some other people who got out too. Did everybody get out?
From what I understand, everybody got out safely. There were no injuries, fortunately.
And how many people were in the building?
I think around 20 to 25 people live here.
The death toll now as high as 29. Hundreds of people were hurt, and the search for survivors continues, especially in an area of Northridge. Again, we're seeing sporadic fires all over the area.
Okay, right now let's go back live out to Fernell Chapman. Fernell?
Well, Chuck, I am here at the intersection of the Golden State Freeway and the Antelope Valley Freeway, which collapsed. The story there we've shown you several times now. The story we have not shown you is behind me. Look at the traffic there. This is a holiday, and the traffic here is still monstrous. What you're looking at is Old San Fernando Road. That's the road, that's the only accessible road at this point to take you out of the San Fernando Valley and into the Santa Clarita Valley or beyond.
I'm Laurel Erickson. We are at the corner of Sherman Way and Balboa, where a gas station has just opened up an hour ago, and it is bedlam here as people are trying to get in to get gas. If you look back there, all of the traffic waiting for gasoline, backing up traffic on Sherman Way. All of these people waiting to get in, and that's not the worst of it. You just, Lou, come on over here. What, are you waiting for gas?
No, for that, yeah.
Air in your tires? And how long have you been waiting? 10 minutes out here in the intersection, really. Thanks. Let's go back over here, Lou, and we'll show all of these people here on this side. And if you look over there, there are 3 or 4, 5 lines of people. They've been waiting as long as a half hour, 45 minutes for gasoline.
When the story of the 1994 Northridge quake is written, one of the few bright spots will no doubt be the fight for survival of this young man. We know him now as Salvador Pena. And as you just heard, he fought for his life for some 6 hours trapped under concrete. He was airlifted here to UCLA Medical Center, to a trauma center. He is in the emergency room now undergoing surgery. Let's listen to a hospital spokesman update his condition.
Salvador Pena is currently in serious condition at UCLA Medical Center. He suffered very severe crush injuries to both legs, as well as some spinal injuries, including a partial dislocation of the spine. He also suffered severe lacerations. He's in the process of being taken to the operating room for surgery, and we should have some more information after that's completed.
Have they had a chance to give a prognosis, or is it too early?
It's too early. He's listed in serious condition. They say he is stable, so that's a good sign. It's 1 grade up from critical condition, so that is encouraging, but they'll probably know more after the surgery is completed.
Now, again, they say that Salvador Pena is here. He has been upgraded from critical to serious condition, but his injuries are considered life-threatening. His legs were basically crushed. He had spinal injuries and lacerations, but he is conscious and is apparently speaking to doctors and family members. We hope to be able to speak with one of the doctors that is treating him here at the UCLA Medical Center, but it may be some time before that emergency surgery is completed and we have more information on what the immediate future holds for Salvador Pena. But it does appear from the medical indications at this point that he will survive what was obviously a near-death experience.
We're at the San Fernando Recreation Park at Park and First Street in the city of San Fernando, where people have surrounded us to watch our TV monitor. They left their homes and had no electricity, so now they're watching TV coverage of the earthquake for the first time and waiting to get inside the Red Cross shelter that's being established in the recreation building behind us. We understand from Red Cross officials they can only handle 200 people inside, and they're bringing in the cots and trying to secure potable water for the evacuees. There are also lots of people in the park planning to sleep outside tonight, and waiting on the phone company to hook up pay phones for their use at this location. Again, Park and First Street in the city of San Fernando. It goes on for acres and acres. There are tents and people who brought their food and bedrolls, children, pets, plants, everything you need for the comforts of home out under the stars tonight. And it's going to be a long night for a community of strangers that'll probably become fast friends as a result of their common concerns and apprehensions tonight about the earthquake and the aftershocks.
Yeah, thank you. Hold on, excuse us. Can we get out this way, please? Let us through. So many. Yes, please. There's enough, I believe.
Remember, there's only 5 gallons of water per person. That's your bottle.
You're looking at the scene inside of a Ralph's supermarket in Panorama City. We're on Van Nuys Boulevard, just a little bit north of Roscoe. This is in the heart of the San Fernando Valley, northeast San Fernando Valley, one of the areas hardest hit. And right now, people are in line making a rush on the supermarkets. Ma'am, water, flashlights?
I don't know what to say. I just moved here from Philadelphia, but I've been here only for 2 months, okay? So this is like...
First earthquake?
Exactly.
Panicking?
Yes.
Thank you. What about your experience, sir? How long did you have to wait to get into this store, and what's it been like for you?
Since about 1 o'clock, and this is my first experience.
You've been waiting since 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, this store didn't open up until 4 o'clock, and so it was quite a wait for many people. The line stretched the entire distance of the store. Supplies, bread, water, what else do you think you need during this time?
Well, this is all for now.
That's it.
Yeah.
Some other folks, what about you? Tough experience this morning?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I came out here from Tennessee, and I ain't used to this. Strange.
We've been hearing some incredible, tremendous stories of people who are using nothing but their wits and their will to try to claw their way out of the wreckage here to get to safety, and of course a lot of people helping each other. One of the people who managed to get to safety has an amazing story. Sheila Chulik joins us now live. Sheila, can you tell us how you got out? I know it's we're hearing some tremors here, and it's kind of making you nervous. Can you tell me about what happened to you this
A
morning?
little bit after about 4:30, the building started to, like somebody lifted it up and put it down, put it out like this, brought it back again, and the furniture started to fall, smashed me across the face, got from underneath it and crawled across the room into the hallway where it dipped down about 4 feet. And then I crawled over and got a light, got a robe, some earlier pajamas, and then I got out and there was a man stuck, so we clawed our way through the hallway and tried to open the doors. And
Pitch dark conditions.
No light, no nothing. So he said, come over here. So I pulled him from underneath the coffee table, and there's some balconies right here, and we jumped off the balcony as it was falling to the ground.
How far did you fall?
Probably about 5 to 8 feet. Landed on my spine, but then I was too scared to lay around and figure out if I was hurt or not, and I came out here and squeezed through this gate right over here. And it just the community people coming together and talking and being supportive. We got to know our neighbors, and I'm so sorry it took something like this for us to know how nice everybody is.
I'm wondering, too, what these people are going to do about clothing, because
Another
obviously...
quake, by the way. We're going one right now.
Yeah, we've got one right now.
We're seeing one right now. We'll show
studio.
you you can see the mass of the trucks.
Yeah, you sure can, and we
And you
can
can
sure
hear
feel
the
it here
lights.
in our studio. We're rolling back and forth.
The lights are moving back and forth in the studio. We're in Burbank, and he's out in the Northridge area, probably a distance of, what, maybe 15 miles away?
Yes, and on our split screen, you can see our seismic cam at it again, just rocking and rolling with this latest aftershock.
We have been able to identify through 3 separate searches of the structure throughout the course of the day, 14 persons lost their lives in the building.
Can you tell us now, do you believe still that there are people inside the building? And if there are, where might they be?
It's hard to answer that yes or no. If they're in the building, they're most likely on the first floor, which has been compressed by the second and third floors above. Again, as I said earlier, the search team, the urban search and rescue team that's on the scene right now, has canines that are trained in live find search. We won't know until they complete a thorough technical search using their canines and their electronic listening devices if we have anyone left inside.
I spoke to President Clinton this morning. He pledged his full support and said he would call a state of emergency approximately this time today. As we have all seen or heard on the radio, the damage to our city has been extensive. We are not yet able to determine the amount of the financial loss, and this assessment will go on for several days. Acting on the advice of Chief Willie Williams, I've declared a local state of emergency and have issued a directive to initiate a curfew beginning at dusk tonight and concluding at dawn.
Even at this hour, we are still having fires breaking out. This is in Granada Hills, and Captain Bob Petty is over the scene. Bob?
Jess, this is at the end of Woodman up here in Granada Hills, just to the west of Holy Cross Hospital before Woodman crosses up into the 5 freeways. It goes up to the Newhall Pass. Again, we believe, as we believe with all the sporadic fires that we've had today after each aftershock, that this is an indication that the gas lines into these buildings were weakened by the initial shock, and that the aftershocks had just weakened it more until the gas escaped and ignited into these flames.
The firefighters are still gathered here. They're getting ready to send in this big urban search team to try once more. Now, in front of me, that's Tony, by the way. That is a dog that's been here since 4:30 in the morning. Her trainer and her guide who goes inside with him is Gregory Gonzalez from LA County. Tell me what it was like inside. What is your dog looking for? How successful can you be?
She's looking for humans that are trapped underneath the collapsed structure. So far today, we haven't been successful. We haven't found any in the area that we've been searching in.
Now, what is she trained to do? What is she trained to? I mean, as we talked before, there's a lot of human scent in there because people have been living there. Can she really differentiate?
She's trained to find the scent that's coming off of human beings, to ignore the smaller amount of scent that's coming off the residual human scent that you'll find in any building. We're looking for the massive amounts of scent that are coming off of humans.
It is known as the San Fernando Road, Old San Fernando Road, and as I believe you can now see, it is clogged. It is roughly a 3-mile trek from the San Fernando Valley to the Santa Clarita Valley, but that small drive has been taking roughly an hour. 1 hour for a 3-mile drive in this particular area, north end of the San Fernando Valley.
Fernell was talking about the mess. We're going to show you the mess right now. You don't even have to wait till tomorrow morning. Bob Petty has got a live shot. So there you got it, the tail lights of cars. This is just south of where Fernell is, so these would be cars. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Bob. This is the northbound traffic?
This is the northbound traffic. It is. And if we pan a little bit to the left, you'll be able to see the south. There's the southbound traffic heading right there. This is just immediately south of where that freeway collapsed up here from the 14 and the 5.
We're in the city of San Fernando, a city that also has its own dusk to dawn curfew, but police tell us that they will allow folks to stay in this park, and the overflow crowd is numbering about 1,000 here at Park and First Street, again in the city of San Fernando.
And this is your home. You've got something like 8 families here now.
Yes, we do.
This has become a block party. Does it help to have everyone here together?
It really does. It's nice to have the family support and all being together, and we're all healthy and alive, so we're making the best of a bad situation.
No power, no water?
No, well, actually, we do have water. We do have water. The water heater was pulled away from the wall, so we don't have hot water, but we do have water flowing into the house,
Okay.
but no power whatsoever.
Okay, we're going to pass by you here, take a step one way or the other, and we're going to come on through, and I want to show you. Some of these are relatives, some of these are neighbors. This is what happened to the Trends home. It's just the facade, really, of the garage that came tumbling down, the bricks right there, and to that degree, he says he feels very fortunate. How you holding up?
Okay. It's hard, but we're all alive, and that's all that matters, is that everybody's healthy, and we're all sitting here, and we're able to just be together. So just thank you.
How are you able to support each other? I know everybody's been bringing in food and trying to get by that way.
Bringing in food and just being together and just, I don't know, it's just like talking about it and expressing your feelings of what happened to you and what happened to you and what was your damage, and just everybody being here. It's not dark, it's light. We're so lucky that we have the motorhome. So it just gives a sense of comfort.
Tell me what happened.
Oh, my mom was in bed and she was trying to get to us when it was shaking. So she got out of bed and started running towards us for us, but she got thrown down about 3 times. Finally, she got us. She grabbed us and threw us in the and put us in the hallway, and it was really scary.
It is the worst earthquake since 1989. Today's earthquake, officially called the Northridge Earthquake, measuring 6.6 on the Richter scale. Widespread power outages, mainly in the San Fernando Valley area. Water has been turned off in many portions of the San Fernando Valley area. We've been telling you about that all evening. And a citywide dusk to dawn curfew. Let's go up to Bob Petty right now. Maybe you can tell us a little about this, Bob.
It's east of the 405 freeway in Panorama City. I believe it's just north of Roscoe, north of Parthenia. And you can obviously see it's a park that people have just decided to come out and have a nice, pleasant evening out of doors rather than indoors, where the noise from the shaking probably would keep them awake anyway.
At this point, maybe we should update the condition of somebody we talked about for a long time today. I'm talking about Salvador Pena. He's a man who was trapped early on in the quake this morning, trapped in the Northridge Fashion Mall there in the parking structure. At this point, his condition has been upgraded from critical to serious, although his injuries are still life-threatening.
Now we're back live in front of the collapsed building, and this is Glenn Miller, and this is a friend of his who was in the bottom floor of this building. When was the last time you heard from him? What are your concerns now?
Talked to him yesterday. All we're trying to do right now, sir, is we're trying to get the firemen to go to his apartment specifically because we know he's there.
Now, which apartment is he in?
111.
So you believe he was caught and was one of the victims?
Almost no question. Someone was with him at 1:30 in the morning. Another employee saw his car here at 10:30 in the morning. We know he's there. We just want him to go in and get him out. I mean, he could still be alive.
In the past few minutes, we've just found another victim who is deceased. I can tell you at this time, we have not completely uncovered the victim. We've got an entire floor sitting on top of the area where he's at. It's compressed into about 3 feet. His 8 foot of space is compressed into about 3 feet. And all the rubble is on top of this particular individual.
Is this an individual you've been looking for all along?
At this point, we can only say that we have one victim in that room.
This just in, this is tomorrow's paper. 25 die, many hurt in 6.6 earthquake. And the front section is, of course, largely about our Los Angeles earthquake. Then
Did you lose your home today, your apartment, or?
Yes, my apartment have a lot of damage.
A lot of damage? Yes. And the whole family's out here?
Yes, all my family, my friends.
So tonight you're going to stay here?
Yes, we're gonna sleep here.
You're going to sleep here? How cold is it supposed to be? Do you know? No? But you're getting dinner. Did you have the food at home, or did you get in one of those long lines to get some?
No, we don't have food at home, only some food right here.
And this is all of your belongings?
Yes.
From the apartment down there on the ground?
Yes.
What was it like trying to get people out from beneath this compacted building here?
It was tough. We were real limited on space. We're in the building and we're having shakers going on while we're in the building, which was quite frightening to everybody in there. Visibility was really poor once the night set in. It was really hard.
Were you personally able to rescue someone?
Yeah, we rescued 2 victims on the southeast corner of the building. We were
that's right over here in this?
Right over to the right over here on the southeast corner. We were walking by and we heard someone moaning, a real faint moan, cleared some debris, and saw the building collapse on the guy's chest with just his lower waist being exposed. The guy was conscious, talking to us. He had 16 penny nails going through his chest from the building coming down on top of him. The fire department came in and got some maxi air pads in there and lifted the building. Luckily, the guy was conscious enough to tell us that his roommate was in another part of the building, or another room that was about 10 feet away.
Well, just the stories coming out of this building have just been incredible on the rescues, and we appreciate you sharing some of that with us. Some of the hero stories we've been hearing all day long of the rescues that went on here in Northridge.
They just finished another briefing out at Caltech. Conan Nolan is there, so let's find out what went on. Conan.
Chuck, it's been a very, very long day here at Caltech as the seismologists here are wrapping things up for the time being. It appears that they have come to a decision on exactly where the fault is where this earthquake took place. Now, earlier today, they were so quick at getting the magnitude of the main shock that it even made the morning newspaper, 6.6 on the Richter scale. Of course, tracking all of the aftershocks, that was a major chore. We're told that there have been 88 aftershocks above 3.0 on the Richter scale, plotting them, almost all of them, north of Northridge. Those aftershocks, at least 3, I should say, were of 5.0 on the Richter scale, and one as heavy as 5.3, and there were quite a few others. This is a normal aftershock pattern, they tell us, but still, people should be alerted to the fact that more aftershocks are on the way, and there's still a likelihood of a very significant aftershock, possibly 5.0. Should point out that the earthquake fault apparently is the Oak Ridge fault. We're told that it begins somewhere in the San Gabriel Mountains near San Fernando, makes its way 70 miles all the way over to the Santa Barbara Channel. Again, it is a 70-mile long fault. However, they only believe that 10 miles of that fault actually ruptured. Thank goodness. If there was a rupture along most of the fault, we would have had a 7.4 and even a higher earthquake in terms of magnitude, and the damage would have been unbelievable in Southern California.
For all of us today here in the earthquake zone, this day got off to a shaky and very frightening start. Let's take a look at what kind of mark the earthquake left behind as the day progressed.
It has been just shy of 24 hours since yesterday's violent and deadly earthquake jolted Southern Californians out of bed. Let's bring you up to date on the very latest. The death toll from yesterday's quake has gone up to 33 this morning. Among the victims, 15 people found dead in the collapse of a single Northridge Meadows apartment complex. Caltech seismologists have a reminder for us this morning. Expect more aftershocks. Some of them may still be pretty strong.
What you've got right now is traffic coming out from the valley using San Fernando Valley Road, or San Fernando Road. But the traffic that, of course, trying to get into work this morning now, and of course for the next several months or years as people start to try to assess exactly how long it's going to take to repair the freeway. This is Sierra Highway as people try to wind their way through the Newhall Pass down into the San Fernando Valley to go to work. So this is going to be the commute from now on. You're looking at the traffic backed up at least 5 miles already, and it's 6:45 in the morning as people try to do it, and the traffic looks like it's moving 5 to 6 miles an hour only as it winds its way through from the Antelope Valley. You're looking at some incredible pictures here. If we can explain what this is. This is Interstate 5, right above where the old road goes underneath it, about a mile or two north of where the 14 and the 5 join in the Newhall Pass. This is the 5 freeway that has split in 4 different locations, being held up only over the direct center section there, right over the old road. You can see cars trapped and trucks trapped in the middle section of that freeway. We didn't see this yesterday because we didn't come out this far on the 5 until after dark. We saw the damage last night, but we didn't notice these cars. Can you imagine driving on Interstate 5, having the tumbler hit, stopping your car and realizing that you're trapped on an island 50 feet above a road or 60 feet above a road? And fortunately, we didn't hear of anybody dying or being killed here or going off the freeway at this location, but only by God's good grace. This is an amazing picture here. We got one tractor trailer truck, 2 small cars or a pickup truck, and a camper trapped in the midsection here. They must have rescued the people out of there yesterday.
We have just found a short time ago victim number 16. Victim 16 is a male, dark hair, black hair with some graying to the hair. We have not made an identification any more than that at this time.
The victim was found on the first level. The first level is the level that was compressed and crushed. We have checked every room and every void space that we can find. We feel that there is no viable victims left in this building.
This is the Pacific Palisades. This house has had problems a long time in the past, and with mudslides and the erosion of the hillside, but this earthquake finally took a big chunk of it away. This is just above the beach, right where Chautauqua and Channel come together down at PCH, down the Pacific Coast Highway. Up on top of the bluffs at Corona del Mar is the name of the avenue. This holds a commanding view of the whole Pacific Coast, and it is now joining the Pacific Coast as it goes down that hillside.
Jim, we've been sharing with you a morning that's almost surreal. To see the Santa Monica Freeway devoid of traffic is just something that's almost hard for the brain to calculate.
It really is, Ket, when you realize that this is the busiest freeway, not in the United States, the busiest freeway in the world, but yet it's buckled, as you can see. I mean, I'm walking uphill here. You can imagine what it must have been like at 4:31 yesterday morning. If you'd been on this freeway, it must have been absolutely terrifying. Now, as we get up a little bit closer here, I think our cameraman can show you that it's cracked right here. I mean, it's amazing, as a matter of fact, that it didn't actually move even further. As we move to the left here, you can see the underpinnings and how the freeway started to crack in the middle there. And down further at the bottom of this, we'll call it a hill, at the bottom of this hill here in the middle of the Santa Monica Freeway, it started to crack and open up again.
This is a very common sight in a lot of stores today. This is what it looks like after the earthquake and the aftershocks have come through this store. This is Dale's Junior Market on Hazeltine and Burbank. And I'm just going to show you some of the mess that we have here. You can look down the aisles, and there are cracked bottles. There are messed up up little pieces of stuff that used to be merchandise for sale here to try to serve its customers even after all of this damage. You can see there's a line of customers at the door there, and the reason they're serving them at the door is because it's too dangerous in here at the moment. They don't want anyone walking around here. They don't want people cutting their feet on the and you can hear some of the glass being poured into a dumpster there. Obviously, the liquor bottles have created quite a problem. Anyway, they want to serve their customers without endangering them in any way, so they're serving people at the door.
You're headed southbound on the 5 yesterday morning.
That's correct.
Okay. What happens when you're on the bridge?
Well, I'm driving along, and all of a sudden, I feel shaking. All within a moment, I see dirt fly up in front of me. Apparently, the expansion joint from the freeway gave way in front of me. I saw it drop. At the same time, my vehicle shook, and I felt like I was airborne. I was off the ground.
So when you come back down, what'd you think?
When I come back down, everything's shaking. All I did is immediately I hit my brakes, let off on them, hit them again. Truck came to a stop. I mean, all during this time, I saw ahead of me that the bridge had collapsed slightly. A lot of dirt flew up into the air.
You said there's a break in the pavement up ahead.
Yeah, I could tell off to the right that it had sunk quite a bit.
So what did you do? You said, let me turn around and go back?
Well, I stopped, and I just sat in the truck because everything's shaking very violently. And I just was thinking to myself, do I get out? Do I stay in the vehicle? Everyone says stay in the vehicle, you're safer. Sure. And the bridge had collapsed, and I thought to myself, well, when it stops, I'm going to do something. I'm going to get out and look. And I got out, walked back.
And you saw some bad news behind you. What did you see behind you?
Well, I saw that the bridge had separated. It didn't sink so far, but it had separated, and there was a difference of maybe a foot.
So what did you do? Did you decide to run for it, or what?
I decided at that point that I would walk out. I was torn between leaving my truck or walking out. There was a woman in a camper. I walked over. I asked her, well, first of all, I told her what I saw. I saw that the bridge was out ahead. I said the bridge behind had separated slightly. And I asked her if she had a family, because I saw her in a motorhome thinking she would need help.
Sure.
She said no. And I told her, I said, well, my intention was I'm going to leave. I said, I think that we're in unsafe, and I said, I'm going. She said, well, should I take my phone? I said, yeah, well, grab your phone. And I said, let's go.
And she got out and
she got out.
So you walk back now. You get to the point where the connector had separated. Did you have to jump to get?
No, I just had to step down. It was, like I said, about a foot. Another trembler hit, and I was afraid it was just going to fall.
So when you left here yesterday morning, it was still connected pretty much up to where you were.
The back section appeared to be still connected, but it had physically separated, and to me it was a matter of time whether it would fall or whether it would stay that way. Looking at it now, you just don't know.
Well, we brought you here this morning, and you said this is the first time you've seen this. What's your reaction?
My reaction is, I can't believe how lucky I am that I'm standing down here looking at it and not laying in the rubble there.
Well, we are on 4th Street between Montana and Idaho. The El Cortez Apartments was built around 1930. It has withstood several earthquakes since then, but it didn't withstand this one. As we go upstairs, we'll show you the dramatic damage up on the 3rd and 4th floors. Literally, the front walls of this beautiful stone brick building came tumbling down. That is the living room of a woman who's very lucky to be alive today. Listen to her story. Her name is Marilyn Brady.
I'm still probably in a little shock. I mean, I couldn't have told you how long the earthquake lasted. I don't remember. When it first happened, I got up because I had a little statue of a dancer I wanted to come and rescue. And as I came into the living room, that's when the front fell out and the ceiling fell down, and I heard somebody pounding on the door, let's get out.
And she did get out. We have some videotape to show you of what the inside of Marilyn Brady's apartment looked like. There it is. That is the front of the building that we just showed you from the ground. She was able to rescue. The reason she came out of her bedroom into the living room was to get a glass figurine that had a lot of special meaning for her. As she moved into the living room, that's when the walls blew out, and she literally is lucky that she did not go out the window with the bricks. And there you see it from the outside as we zoom out of the apartment building. Some 40 units here. Everybody worked together, got the older folks out without any serious injury. That is a story that has been repeated over and over again here in the city of Santa Monica. People helping each other out in the middle of the dark with flashlights, barefoot, but no serious injuries as far as we can tell, and no fatalities here in the city.
We just celebrated our 50th anniversary, and this is what we got.
Evelyn and Harvey Renner had lived in this Canoga Park apartment for a decade until the quake wiped them out.
We're right now going in our son's apartment, his son's house, but I'm just devastated. I mean, all these years and everything else, and just.
Show me your car, Dad. Oh, you want to see my car?
Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at the gate.
That's my car. Can you believe that?
The gate looks like something holding up a castle. Look at that.
This was my car.
That's your blue Cadillac.
Yeah.
Your coach for retirement.
Yep. Beautiful shape. Gone. Got the keys. I try to give the keys away, but nobody wants the keys.
We saved one piece of crystal, and we saved one gold-plated cup and saucer.
Meanwhile, back at the Renner's demolished castle, Renner's son Michael and granddaughter tried to save some of life's golden mementos. Even the quake had a golden lining. Neighbor Vi Elias helped them out too.
You save and you work and you try, but you know what? The kindness of people makes it better.
Everybody came out. Nobody was hurt. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. There were no injuries here at all. None whatsoever.
But you know what? Like he says, they are golden years because we're still alive, you know.
First thing I said when we walked out, I didn't know we were going to be able to get anything out of there at all. And I just said to her, look at your feet, look at your hands. You can walk. That's all that counts.
Sustained some pretty serious injuries, but we think he's going to be okay.
When Salvador Pena was pulled from the dark hole he spent 9 hours in after the quake, elation over his rescue was mixed with fears for his survival. Paramedics had to place military anti-shock trousers over his legs and pelvis to prevent internal bleeding and splint any fractures that might have occurred. He was airlifted to UCLA Medical Center, where surgeons went immediately to work.
He has a massive crush injury below about the mid-level of his thigh all the way down to his toes.
Although Salvador turned out to have no broken bones, the surgery was anything but easy.
Aside from all of Salvador's injuries, there was one other obstacle that Dr. Zinner had to deal with here in the operating room at UCLA during surgery, an obstacle that many of us were dealing with at the same time.
When you're in the operating room and the aftershock occurs, there's obviously movement of the table and the patient, and sometimes it's not in the direction you want to go. So all of us have to stop and wait for it just like you do at home.
After controlling the bleeding, Dr. Zinner had one more thing to worry about. As often happens with crush injuries, poisons from the tissue breakdown threatens to cause Salvador's kidneys to fail. Preventive treatment was started immediately.
We treat that with intravenous fluids in massive doses to be able to flush out the kidneys and get those toxins out of there.
As Salvador's kidneys started to work, he also began to get the feeling in his legs back. Although the next 48 hours are critical, things are really beginning to look up.
We are optimistic that he will recover, but it's going to take a long time.
I'm homeless. I lived on the second floor, which used to be 3 stories, and now I'm on the first floor with no apartment, no food, no anything except my life, which is the most important part. So I'm lucky to be alive. I have just a scratch and a bruised back, but other than that, I'm fine.
What's the most valuable thing you lost in there?
My neighbors. My next door neighbors didn't make it. So the neighbors were the most valuable thing I lost.
Here comes the president now, stepping off of Air Force One.
This is very interesting to see him in just a sports jacket. Earlier when he left Washington, D.C., he was bundled up, and it looked like he almost slipped on the ice getting to the airplane.
He's shaking hands right now with Governor Pete Wilson, who has remained in Southern California. This is their first face-to-face meeting since the earthquake broke on Monday morning.
I always learn something when I come to Southern California. Very often in the last 2 years, I have come here when things were difficult for people, and I always walk away utterly astonished. The sense of teamwork here has been truly extraordinary. I never cease to be amazed by the energy and the optimism, the courage and the constant good humor of so many millions of people in this state against all odds. I met a woman who had lost her home. This is unbelievable, lost her home, who said to me, you know, I lost my home, and I'm really grateful you folks are coming here to help, but when you go to that meeting this afternoon, I hope you'll just ask everybody to do the right thing. She said, ask people not to overcharge us for water, but ask all the people who are hurt not to take advantage of FEMA. She said, you know, somebody in the rest of this country might get in trouble later this year, and I lost my home, but we're going to have to do some of this ourselves. And I heard some people talking about asking for reimbursement for things that were already broken in their homes. And she said, we just all ought to do the right thing, and we'll come out okay. This is a national problem. We have a national responsibility, and we will be in it for the long run. This is not something where all of us from the federal government just showed up while this is an issue in the headlines, gripping the hearts and emotions of all your countrymen and women who feel for you, all the way to the tip of northern Maine and the tip of southern Florida. This is something we intend to stay with until the job is over.
Earthquake. Good aftershock just now. Still going.
Yeah, that's a big one. Okay, we felt that one. I think it's going to be undeniable that President Clinton is going to have felt this second aftershock.
Well, it is not over, not by a long shot. For those of us who lost our possessions and our homes, it's not going to be over for a long time, maybe not for years. And for those who lost our most precious possession, people we loved, it will never be over. But Southern California is a place of vast contrasts. Right here in Los Angeles, in the middle of all that death and destruction, the miracle of life.
Imagine how Jim and Monica felt when their first child arrived Monday morning, just about 4:31 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Baby? Yeah, mine's the one in the middle.
Oh, how cute. Congratulations.
She was the earthquake baby.
First-time dad Jim Nelson expected the birth of his daughter to change his life. When little Nikki arrived 2 weeks early, in the middle of an earthquake, Jim said all he could think to do was to pray.
Oh, man. Thank you, Lord.
Pediatric nurses are calm by nature. The nurses here at Anaheim General Hospital say that their babies aren't bothered by earthquakes. They enjoy being rocked. But when this quake hit the delivery room, well, that was something else. Carol Johnson was one of the delivery room nurses.
We could see the top of the head, and so it was like, you know, you're almost there, keep pushing.
The nurse is telling us to push and push. And then she said, okay, let's relax a little bit so we can see the baby's head. And then that's like right then we start relaxing. Then all of a sudden the earthquake came, you know what I mean? Everything started shaking.
Then everything blacked out, and then it was like, oh my God, this is really a big one.
Mom, Monica Scherer, didn't know whether to push or run.
The first thing I thought was that the ceiling was going to fall in on us.
Monica started screaming and panicking. I just told her, God is here with us, honey, don't worry.
Dr. Sang Kim arrived at the hospital during the quake.
Well, I was scared too, you know.
And so I, felt my way over and found the flashlights and handed them out, to everybody.
So, I mean, the doctor I was counting, like the doctor's, okay, push.
About 10 or 12 times the push.
Come on, honey, we got to do it. We can do it. We can do it.
She was real scared.
And then she just pushed real hard. And
it was just like, right oh my God, what a relief.
Pop flew out.
We made it. And then I'm very happy. I'm proud that we have a healthy mother, healthy baby. Everybody's happy.
When they put Nikki Nelson on that delivery room scale, she weighed in at 6 pounds, 6 ounces, 6.6. That's right, exactly the first reading by Caltech of the magnitude of the quake. Now, later, that would be changed to 6.7 by the U.S. Geological Survey. And the National Earthquake Information Center in Golden, Colorado is now calling it a 6.8. I think they're still arguing about it as we speak. So, that's it. We've learned a great deal about ourselves and our ability to endure. We learned who we could count on, friends, neighbors, tireless volunteers who were always there for us. We learned that we could count on our city, county, and federal governments to act quickly and in our best interest. We Angelenos came together as neighbor to neighbor, friend to friend, with a new spirit of understanding and compassion for each other. And you know something? We can keep that spirit alive as we rebuild together. Los Angeles is an unpredictable city, and life is a little tougher living here on the edge. But boy, what a view.